The Great Pumpkin Rabbit Caper. Little Timmy was always excited to visit Grandpa's house. It wasn't just because of the endless supply of cookies and Grandpa's never-ending stories about the good old days. No, it was because Grandpa's house had a huge backyard that stretched for miles, perfect for a young boy with a vivid imagination. This visit was particularly special because Timmy had something new to show Grandpa, a pet rabbit. Timmy had spent weeks convincing his parents to get him one. He'd promised to take care of it, clean its cage, and even promised not to eat all its carrots, something Grandpa found particularly amusing. So, when he arrived at Grandpa's house, he proudly pulled a small cage out of his bag. "Meet Binky," Timmy announced, holding the rabbit up like it was some sort of grand treasure. Grandpa, who had been sitting in his rocking chair, squinted at the rabbit, adjusting his glasses. "Binky? Huh? Sounds like a name for a prizefighter, not a rabbit." Timmy grinned. "He's a tough one. Don't let his fluffy ears fool you." Grandpa raised an eyebrow. "Tough? Huh? Well, we'll see how tough he is when the neighborhood cats start lining up." Timmy looked worried. "You don't think Binky will get scared, do you?" "Not if he's as tough as you say," Grandpa replied, rocking back and forth thoughtfully. "Just don't let him get too comfortable in my garden, or he'll eat all my carrots. And trust me, those carrots are special." Timmy looked around. "Where's the garden, Grandpa?" Grandpa's eyes twinkled. "You'll see." The first few days went by smoothly. Timmy kept Binky in a small hutch in the corner of the backyard, and Binky seemed to enjoy his new home. He'd hop around and nibble on grass, and Timmy would sit beside him, talking about everything from school to the secret superpowers he was sure he had. But then, one morning, disaster struck. Timmy woke up bright and early, eager to check on Binky. He rushed out to the backyard, but something was off. Binky's cage was empty. Timmy blinked, rubbed his eyes, and then looked again. Still no rabbit. "Grandpa," Timmy called, running into the house. "Grandpa, Binky's gone." Grandpa looked up from his newspaper. "Gone? What do you mean gone?" Timmy was practically in tears. "I mean he's not in his cage. He's disappeared." "Well, then he's probably in the backyard," Grandpa said, not sounding particularly worried. "Rabbits do that, you know." Timmy raced outside, scanning every corner of the yard. He checked the garden, behind the shed, under the swing set, even in the tall grass by the fence. No sign of Binky. "Grandpa, I don't see him anywhere," Timmy shouted. Grandpa slowly walked out into the yard, his hands in his pockets, looking around like a man who'd seen a lot of strange things in his time. He scratched his chin thoughtfully. Could be he's hiding somewhere." Timmy's mind raced. What if something happened to him? What if he got lost? What if— Wait, Grandpa suddenly exclaimed, pointing toward the compost pile. "There. Look." Timmy's heart skipped a beat. Had Binky found a way to burrow his way to freedom? The two of them ran toward the compost pile, but all they found were a couple of squirrels digging around. "False alarm," Grandpa said, shrugging. "Guess he's not there." Timmy's shoulders sagged. "What are we going to do?" "Well, let's think about this logically," Grandpa said, looking around. "First things first, Binky didn't just disappear into thin air. He's probably somewhere close by." The two spent the next few hours scouring the entire yard. They checked every nook and cranny, every tree and bush. They even looked inside the old barn in the back corner of the property. Nothing. Timmy sat down on the porch steps, defeated. What if he's gone for good? Grandpa sat down beside him, patted him on the back. "Kid, rabbits are sneaky. You've got to outsmart them. The trick is to think like a rabbit." Timmy frowned. "But I'm not a rabbit." Grandpa chuckled. "Well, maybe not, but you can sure try. You never know where that little furball could be." After lunch, they continued their search, but the results were the same. No Binky. Just when Timmy was about to give up hope, Grandpa leaned over the fence and squinted at something in the distance. "There. Do you see that?" Grandpa said, pointing. Timmy's eyes followed his finger to the far corner of the backyard, where something was moving. "What is that?" Timmy whispered. Grandpa rubbed his hands together. "Ah, that, my boy, is a mystery." They both carefully approached the strange object. It looked like a pumpkin. but it was moving. Timmy stared, wide-eyed. A pumpkin? That's weird. Grandpa raised an eyebrow. That's not just any pumpkin. Look closer. Timmy crept closer, his heart pounding. As they got nearer, the pumpkin rolled a little, and something small and furry popped out from behind it. Timmy gasped. Binky! There, emerging from the hollowed-out pumpkin, was Binky, munching on a piece of pumpkin rind. Is that what you've been doing, Binky? Timmy asked, amazed. The rabbit looked up, as if embarrassed, then hopped away. Grandpa laughed so hard he nearly fell over. Well, I'll be. He's been hiding in a pumpkin this whole time. Guess he was getting into the fall spirit. Timmy shook his head, relieved. I can't believe it. Binky was living inside a pumpkin. Grandpa wiped a tear from his eye. Guess he wasn't so tough after all. More like a Halloween enthusiast. Timmy scooped up Binky and hugged him tightly. You scared me, buddy. Binky wiggled in Timmy's arms, but seemed perfectly content now that he'd been found. Grandpa shook his head, chuckling. Well, kid, looks like you've got yourself a trickster for a pet. Just make sure he doesn't start growing pumpkins in the garden next. From that day on, Binky became even more of a legend in the backyard. Every now and then, Timmy would find him hiding in the most unlikely places, inside a wheelbarrow, under the porch steps, or behind stacks of firewood. But nothing was as memorable as the day Binky emerged from the pumpkin. Timmy had learned something important that day. No matter how sneaky, tricky, or mischievous a pet might be, they always come back home in the end. And for Grandpa? Well, he was just happy that Binky wasn't living up to his name as a tough rabbit. After all, what was more harmless than a rabbit who wanted to turn pumpkins into his personal hideout? As for Timmy, he was simply thrilled to have his clever, pumpkin-loving friend back by his side. After all, in the world of pets and mysteries, anything was possible. And who knows? Maybe next time, Binky would take up residence inside a watermelon. Grandpa would be ready with a good laugh either way.